Geopolitically, we in a field. Just for Israel. Wonder is it real? Rappers act steady high, steady simple pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up, had to flip the pills. Control the music industry so the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in a field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real? Took the way you saw the world, then distorted it. Now you think you wanna rocket twirl somewhere orbited. Theories disproportionate, the truth distorted quick with a forceful grip. They force a misinfo that we absorb it quick. Took the people's signature, that mean extorted it. They forging it, abusing cause informant to informing them. There's a surplus, but they tell us there are shortages. Credit economy mortgages, dollar that's supported with empty fortresses. But what's important is this: we port ships important. Yes, of course it is, but extortion is in accordance with an assortment list of foreign tricks. We ignoring which informant disinformant this. It looked like we were storing tricks. Pedophilia and the government endorsing it. Yeah, eugenics is exactly what abortion is. You just vilify those as subordinate. Way to matrix engineer, that's unfortunate. Geopolitically, we in a field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real? Rappers acting steady high, steady simple pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up just to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real?
Oh, hey, what's up, guys? Long time no see. It's been like 2 days. You should go on a comedy, Twit. About time someone exposes this Garble movie. Yeah, it's light work. That was the Flat Earth meetup. It was super cool. Like always, Flat Earthers are super based. You don't have to dumb down your conversation, you know? It's refreshing. So yeah. Shout out to everybody that was at the meetup. It was cool. And I've just been kind of tired. So I've just been chilling. You know, I didn't get much sleep, then went to the meetup, then didn't get much sleep, then, you know, had glow busters, and I was just tired. So it's a couple of notches below mainstream media, though. Can be a jump off for normies full of grabble there. Yeah, that's why I felt like I had to do the stream. Because Zeitgeist like dropped some truths, right? They talk about 9/11, like, oh, you're so woke. And like it got a lot of people. You know, it got a lot of people. One of my best friends was atheist for a long time. And he just thought it was so funny I would ever believe in Yeshua, you know, like, check out this movie. Look how stupid it is. So that's what we're referring to. We're referring to the portion of Zeitgeist that talks about religion and how they're all connected, and explains how Yeshua is just, you know, like a knockoff version of those. That's the portion we're talking about. You know, when they point out the holes in 9/11, like, okay, cool. Right. But this did work on a lot of people. And I hear flat earthers all the time reference the misinformation that comes from this movie. I don't care if they want to claim that they didn't get it from this movie or not. This is what made the misinformation mainstream. So just like with everything, maybe it just requires some people be a little bit more honest in their being. But yeah, I've just been working, haven't had a ton of time. I've been looking into the Clash of the Titans thing. Is like a whole ordeal. I'm trying to decide the best way to do that. I may actually break it into a series. So yeah, shout out to everybody that's in D Live. What's up, guys? Thank you for the diamond, Alberta Bear and Nico Bear. Thank y'all for the diamonds. And that gif of the cat bobbing in the field is absolutely hysterical. But thank you, everybody, for popping up in D Live. I finally figured out how we can make sure it works every time, so we should be good from here on out. That was the movie that woke me up to a lot of deception, but it wasn't until Flat Earth that brought me back to Yeshua. Yeah, we're going to get into it. So, like, with the Clash of the Titans thing, right? I think I may do a series where I break down either each figure, like if there's a more prominent figure, break down that figure entirely, or maybe 2-3 at a time. Or we may just have like a really long stream where I break down the Titans, which is what Greek mythos is referring to, the Titans. So that's a whole thing, right? I have like 5 or 6 subjects that I'm looking into, and they're just like rabbit holes, you know? And so I'm trying to make sure I get it right before I present it. Like the calendar stream, I was going to do the calendar stream tonight, but it's just so much. It's so much. I want to try and put the pieces together a little better before I give my take on it. But anyway, so yeah, Zeitgeist. I didn't really have to prep for this. So I'll tell y'all what happened with me, and then I'll play a video for you guys. It's real simple. So a lot of y'all may have heard this. I'll try and just keep it brief, but simply I was raised Baptist, right? I was raised a Christian, derogatory term anyway. Like literally it was created to make fun of those that follow Yeshua. His name wasn't Jesus. That's a whole nother thing. We covered a lot of that in the Jesuit stream, and we'll cover a lot of that when it comes to Christmas stream and to the calendar, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll briefly cover parts of it here, but I'm going to intentionally not get too deep in certain subjects because they'll be more thoroughly explained in the coming streams. So yeah, anyway, I got to where I was like, wow, this is just a fairy tale. None of you people believe in this. Is stupid. I'd ask about Genesis 6. I wouldn't get any answers. They couldn't answer any of my questions. And then simply I was just like, well, you clearly don't believe in this. You just come to a big building. It was a real nice church. Once a week, maybe twice a week. You make sure everyone sees you put money in something. So you're you're a good boy. It's much more about like societal currency, right? As opposed to what it should be. And so I was just like, well, this is fake, whatever. I mean, no big deal. Religion's used to control people. There's over 4,200 religions, and everyone thinks there's the right one. It's just primitive, cognitively suppressed humans trying to explain the inexplicable. And there's different historical expressions of this, right? And so I was arrogant about it. And I had personal experience that kind of fueled that. Anyway, fast forward, find out the Earth's flat. That's cool. Well, I never thought the Earth wasn't designed anyway, because that's the epitome of stupidity. You literally couldn't have a more uninformed, foolish position than to think that there was no designer. Now, how you want to express it is a totally different thing, but I never, ever ventured over there. I just can't imagine actually being that dumb, just to be frank. But I was agnostic, whatever. So found about the Earth, fast forward a few more years, end up having some pretty crazy, like real spiritual experiences or whatever. And just to wrap it up, the whole point here was what I did. I remembered that my friend had shown me Zeitgeist. And when I watched it, I didn't have any answers because I was very uninformed, right? The only thing I even knew about Jesus was like what I had been told in a Baptist church. So I was like, yeah, I don't know. That is crazy, bro. Like I didn't even argue with him or anything. Felt kind of stupid, to be honest. So fast forward to this point. Now I'm like, I want to get to the bottom of this. So I actually had a bias against Christianity, right? Like I was almost positive I was just going to go in here, thoroughly dismantle, debunk, and refute the story of Christianity. That is actually the way I went into it. But I do like to pride myself in not allowing bias to just completely determine what I get out of something. So maybe a lot of people in here should try that. Maybe not. Merry Christmas from Akia Life. Thank you very much, my man. It's much appreciated. And Merry Christmas to you too, even though Christ's Mass is a pretty gravel term, but thank you, bro. Much appreciated. What Bible do you read? The Sefer? No, I don't have a Sefer. I'm not pro or against it. I have like an ESV Bible, and I have like a KJV Bible. Like I pray and I read out of my ESV Bible. But when it comes down to studying the word, I just go look at all the different translations, track it back to the original languages, and then corroborate them, put them in correct context. Oftentimes they grabble the subject-verb agreement, a whole bunch of stuff takes. This is why you need to just get right with God, right? You need to have a relationship with him. It's way beyond a book. But there is scripture that was put here for you, and when you pray for it, he'll talk to you through a freaking message Bible, bro. Like Yeshua is way too powerful for the little games that they play. So I'm not as dogmatic about translations. I think there's probably something wrong with all of them. So there we go, my answer. All right, cool. Thank you for the $10 super chat to my man. Get Shrek. Much love, much appreciated. All the support is greatly appreciated. I'll check, make sure that nothing comes in through Cash App or PayPal by the end. Don't think I'm going to leave you hanging. All right, so let's just get into it. I'm going to show y'all a video. Okay, I basically, sorry, I get sidetracked or whatever. I digress. But like the overarching point here is what I did was I was like, you know what? I did this like for a week. I just didn't talk to anyone. I was like, I'm going to look into these religions. I'm looking to all these mainstream religions, the most popular ones. And I'm going to, without bias, critique them, like as in the historicity of them, as in corroborated with archaeological evidence, geographical representations that are consistent, but independent of that source, of that origin, of said religion. And I ended up remembering, okay, Zeitgeist made all these claims. Let's go test this out. And it's easily debunkable, very easy to debunk. And that's why I usually end up losing my patience when people want to talk like they're real smart about this, and they talk about it. I'm like, you haven't researched it. It's just like when people talk to me about Yeshua, and I'm just like, I just know certain questions I can ask them, and based on their response, I know they didn't research it because I did. So that's how I know. It's like I did research. So it's not like, oh, I think I know I'm right, so you have to be wrong. No, it's like I just know you haven't researched it, because if you do, this is what you find, right? So people often like conflate this into, oh, just must be that I think I'm right. No. It's just you haven't researched. I know that based on your ignorant answers and responses. So let's just watch the video. It's going to break it down pretty good, right? I looked into these claims. If anyone's never seen it, it's like, oh, geez, just the same story as all the other pagan beliefs. Look, each one of these deities had bang, 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 names all the characteristics of Yeshua. And it's like, oh, this one had all the same ones. Oh, this other one had all the same ones. It's just a recycled story stemming from the sky. So we're going to put an end to that nonsense. And if you want to leave this stream still thinking it, I don't really care, to be honest. All right, so let's just check it out.
In Bill's movie, Bill Maher's movie, and in Zeitgeist, they go through a litany of gods and goddesses from back in the olden days. And then they declare that, for instance, Mithra was born of a virgin, was born on December 25th, had 12 disciples, performed miracles, was dead for 3 days, was resurrected, and Sunday was the day Mithra was worshipped.
Oh, so you see, if you've never seen it, this is the theme with all of it. I'm going to pause it in case someone, whatever. Obviously, I'm not agreeing with everything this guy says. Just focus on the discussion at hand. Like I said, I've been busy, and so this is the most efficient way for me to break the spell. So, moving on. These are just all the claims in the movie Zeitgeist. Okay, so attributed to Mithra, they made these claims.
They'll also say this about Horus, similar things. Born on December 25th, born of a virgin, had a star in the east that appeared, was adored by 3 kings, was teaching at 12, baptized, and had his ministry at the age of 30, and had 12 disciples. The list goes on. Dionysus, born...
Which is another name often attributed to Nimrod.
Of a virgin, born on December 25th, performed miracles, was called the King of Kings, was called the Alpha and Omega, and then was resurrected. This list just goes on and on, name after name after name. Now, when you chase down the actual sources of where are the ancient documents that tell them these things about these deities, what you find is that Bill Maher is quoting Zeitgeist. Zeitgeist is quoting another book. That book's quoting another book. These are all modern books. And then that book has no ancient sources of any kind. It's just sort of a long string of one person quoting another who had no original sources. So it's difficult to do.
He is literally correct about this. Again, I did this myself. Okay, so I went and read the Epic of Gilgamesh. I went and read all of these ancient texts to find out, is this true? You know, because truth doesn't fear investigation. I'm not scared of the truth. So if the story of Yeshua was fake, I wasn't afraid of that. I wanted to go find out and validate it myself. Most people don't do that. They want to confirm their bias. They watch a well put together production and they're like, okay, makes sense. The way they said it makes sense. There's a logical framework for it. I'm out. That's just very irresponsible, intellectually dishonest, and you will never find the truth that way. Truth doesn't fear investigation. And he who has nothing to hide hides nothing. Okay.
Research on this because the documents don't exist. They can't be analyzed. But let me go through some details. Mithra, it said, was born of a virgin. This is not true. Mithra emerged fully grown out of a rock wearing a hat.
Bro, think about that right there. Right there, you should already know, okay, I can't trust the movie at all. You should already know it. This made a final production. They said that Mithra was born of a virgin. And literally the story is that Mithra was born from a rock. Now, where do we have that in modern society? It's called abiogenesis. We actually have Michelle Fowler from NASA telling you that she's a complicated rock. And when she goes into the mountains, she looks out and she's looking at her cousins. They literally want you to think that you came from rocks. This is an occultic, Gnostic belief system that this stems from. This is not just some random story they told you, right? But it's called abiogenesis in modern terms of pseudoscientific fairy tales to prop up the idea that there is no designer and everything came from nothing randomly.
Now, I suppose you could consider a rock, like a stone, a virgin. I suppose you could call it that, but this is obviously not what we mean by virgin birth. Mithra was born on December 25th. Actually,
again, just to clarify for everyone, I did not just watch this video and think, oh, guys, I researched this freaking 4 years ago. I read all of the original text myself, so I'm going to keep my eyes off the chat. But, like, guys, if you haven't done that, you don't have any position to argue with me. You haven't even read the text you're defending. I did read them. Okay, that's all you have to do. All you have to do is go read the most original text that we can have access to regarding these stories, and it's so obvious. You read the whole story and it never alludes to any of the claims. It just never even alludes to them. It's insanity. They literally just made stuff up, like literally just made it up.
There is no date given anywhere of Mithra's supposed birth.
Okay, now this guy's obviously missing the mark. He's trying to defend this part, right? Actually, let's just go ahead and cover that part. So, like I said, I'm not going to go in too much depth with this part because we have a stream coming up where we expose Christmas. And so when we expose the calendar and we expose Christmas, this will be covered in more detail. But I have a pretty good book here, Reversing Herman, Dr. Michael Heiser. You have to read everything with discernment, So if you don't have discernment, you just need to just go read the scriptures, and honestly, you won't even understand them. So this breaks this all down in pretty good detail. It's a good book. I encourage people to get if, once again, you have discernment. But I'm going to read a part of it so that you understand what's this debunks Zeitgeist right here. Right here. This debunks their entire premise. It's absolutely hilarious. So the whole idea being all these religions were actually looking at the sun itself, right, based on the winter solstice and then it coming back up after 3 days. They say that the Son of God is resurrected. And that's where you get the birthday attributed to all of these deities being December 25th. Now, even that part of the story isn't true. Most of those deities, they don't have anything attributed to December 25th. It's never told you when they were born or when they died or anything like that. But they just added it in there because of the allure of the idea that all of these have the same characteristic based on what the sun does. And then, of course, sun and then being turned into like a sun as opposed to the sun in the sky. So it has an allure to it. They know people are stupid. And the way that I know that they're correct about this is I have flat earthers arguing with me about this. I'm not calling any flat earthers stupid. I'm saying oftentimes people are too lazy to research something if it confirms their bias. right? And this extends into every group of people. So anyway, um, Revelations 12 is about Yeshua's birth. Okay, and so there's astronomical events occurring with the signs in Revelation 12, and it breaks this down like in great detail, right? Revelations 12 as astral prophecy. I think this is chapter 5. Either way, so we have like the woman, all of it's broken down in vivid detail. This is to describe to you when Yeshua was born. So I'm just going to skip back here to the end. The combination of astronomical signs produces a unique set of circumstances that can only be accounted for by one date. And in point of fact, a 90-minute window on that date. Actually, less than 90 minutes. This date, as we will see momentarily, has dramatic significance in the Jewish calendar. According to these signs in the heavens, the date of Yeshua's birth was September 11th, 3 BC. September 11th. Again, this is based on the astrological evidence described in the scriptures. Of course, you think that the shepherds went out there during the winter. Jupiter is also important because it is the best explanation for the star whose movement was tracked by the Magi. Jupiter is well known for retrograde motion, the appearance of movement back and forth in the night sky. They are the rebellious ones. Jupiter's first conjunction with Regulus began on September 14th, 3 BC, which, of course, you should start to be thinking right now just how important this potential conjunction is. Okay. And continued through September 11th, 3 BC. On December 1, 3 BC, Jupiter stopped its normal course through the fixed stars and began its annual retrogression or backward motion. In doing so, it once again headed toward the star Regulus. Then on February 17th, 2 BC, the two were reunited. Jupiter continued on its motion, still in retrogression, another 40 days, and then it reverted to its normal motion through the stars. The timing is right, as the Magi embarked on their journey a year or so after Jesus was actually born. The astronomical context of John's description of what he saw in the heavens in Revelation 12 puts the birth of Yeshua on September 11th, 3 BC. So there is just a bit of it. It's way more than that. It isn't just like someone just gave their opinion. The whole beginning of the chapters, breaking it down. Again, this is also something that's very easy to verify. So Yeshua was actually born on 9/11. Now, what did they do with 9/11? They associate it with trauma. They did the biggest domestic false flag attack ever, 9/11. People hear it. They think something negative. They think about trauma. They told you to call the cops and type in 911, even though when they first did that, they had the little dials you had to spin, and 9 and 1 are on opposite sides. It makes no sense whatsoever to ever do that in a hurry and an emergency, but of course, it's much cheaper than that. That was a mass sacrifice on Yeshua's birthday. So anyway, he wasn't born on December 25th. Right. So if someone didn't know that, like, he was not born on December 25th at all. Okay. So the only ones that claim anything about December 25th are the pagan holidays. And Zeitgeist blatantly misrepresents this. It's probably just a combination of just very incompetent mistakes that are accidentally done, though. Right. So this is a hit piece on Yeshua. You should wonder why, if it's so fake, why they got to do that. But anyway, now you know this December 25th part. Okay, so that debunks all of their claims already. By the way, it already does, but it's way worse than that. They didn't just lie about that.
Of Mithra's supposed birth, there's just no date given for it. So this is just someone pulled it out of their Mithra. I don't know where they got it from. And then supposedly Mithra had 12 disciples. Actually, he had 1 or 2, depending on which sort of sect or smaller group of Mithraists you belonged to. He had 1 or 2 disciples in particular. He was dead for 3. Performed miracles. Mithra is known for one great activity. Over and over again, the pictures of Mithra, the activities of Mithra are seen always doing the same thing. Mithra killed a bull. We're not sure why. Mithra killed a bull. He's known for slaying a bull. This is what Mithra is known for, not for performing specifically miracles, although that would be generic. I wouldn't be surprised if a deity character performed miracles, but Mithra was dead for 3 days. No, Mithra...
And this is the thing that you need to understand with the performed miracles thing. This entire thing lacks substantive specificity. It's like so remedial, it's laughable. But, yeah, of course, there is real magic, guys, right? There's real sorcery. Oftentimes, and this is another thing I found when I researched the historicity and accuracy of Yeshua as just a historical figure in and of itself, because again, I wanted to know what I believe in really sharpen my ideas as opposed to just going around thinking I know everything like a lot of people still do. But anyway, many of the people that would write about Yeshua, they would acknowledge he existed, that people followed him, that he bucked the system, that he was killed, and that his tomb was empty, and that he performed miracles. But what they called these things were magic. They said that he was a magician. He was just very good at sorcery and magic, and he was able to deceive and trick people with miraculous events. They never said that he didn't do any of these miracles that were attributed to him. These are the people that made fun of him, said he was just some dude that got killed for his troubles, people that think he was born of a whore and a prostitute, people that make fun of him constantly, think he's a joke, okay? All of these people, so whether you look at Poly the Younger, Tacitus, whoever you look at, they all acknowledge these miracles attributed to him did in fact take place, but that they have an explanation for it, and that it was magic, okay? Now, this does extend into some truth that, well, there are quote-unquote demigods throughout history that did things that, you know, the human and the temporal physical vessel would find to be a miracle.
Mithra never died. There's no record of Mithra dying. There is just no record. And if there's no record of Mithra dying, there's no source document for that, then it's difficult to have a resurrection, which just seems to have been fabricated. And then finally, Sunday. Mithra was worshipped on Sunday. It's difficult to have it. Just was dead for 3 days. No, Mithra never died. There's no record of Mithra.
So Mithra never died, but, you know, we'll just throw in the movie dead for 3 days. God, how ridiculous is this? That's why I get so frustrated. People just don't even research anything. But hey, what does this picture look like? That looks a lot like the Statue of Liberty, huh?
Mithra dying. There is just no record. And if there's no record of Mithra dying, there's no source document for that, then it's difficult to have a resurrection, which just seems to have been fabricated. And then finally, Sunday. Mithra was worshipped on Sunday. Now, Christians gather.
Yeah, see, he doesn't really know what to say because he's just totally wrong. And you look at him, he's like, no, a lot of these deities were worshipped on Sunday, dude. That's after they manipulated the calendar. It's all based on their pagan beliefs. So, just like always, you know, modern Christianity's off the mark. But what's new? We'll move on.
Horus. Horus is supposedly born on December 25th. Well, depending on which calendar you're looking at, he was born either during August 24th through 28th, or he was born on July 15th. So in July or August, and those dates is the ones given for.
Oh, he's born in July or August, but we'll just say in the movie he's born on December 25th. Makes sense.
Horus's actual birth, not on December 25th. Now, keep in mind, the Bible does not tell us when Jesus was born.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, you're a little based.
We don't know.
Yeah, I see. You're wrong, though. We do know. It does tell us. It tells us very specifically. It gives us details about the stars and the astrological alignments that are so detailed and precise that they can only happen. It boils it down to an 80 to 90 minute period. Guys, the scriptures are so accurate describing Yeshua's birth when it comes to the astrological alignments. It boils it down to an 80-minute interval. Okay.
I don't care if it was the 25th. I'll get into some reasons why they may have selected that date. But even if there was a deity that was born on no, in fact, there's a story. He was born supposedly of a virgin. Was Horus born of a virgin? No. In fact, there's a story a little too inappropriate for me to discuss, but I'll give you a highlights of it. His father was Osiris. His mother was Isis. Osiris had been killed and ripped to pieces. His mother, Isis, used her magic to piece him back together, reanimated his body in order to copulate, and then she produced a child.
To copulate with her son. And I broke this down for you guys in the Matrix. Trinity's the mother. Whenever she kisses Neo, it's all about the mother consummating with the son. This is what Nimrod was known to do, the man of many names, Gilgamesh, Apollo, Osiris, etc. Okay, so that's what this. They're weirdos, dude. Okay, the powers that shouldn't be. They're just really weird and depraving.
This is not a virgin birth. No, not by a long shot. There's other more disgusting versions of that story, but supposedly Horus, there was a star in the east. There's just no source given for this. We don't know where this story came from, although I suspect it came from the same place as some other things. So it was adored by 3 kings. Supposedly Horus was adored by 3 different kings. Now this is interesting because The scripture does not say that Jesus was adored by three kings. No, there were three magi, or the word means wise men. They were probably well-educated counselors to a king. They showed up from the east. They worshipped Jesus, and we don't know how many there were. We know there were three gifts.
Oh, we do know that wasn't his freaking name, though.
We don't know if they're wrong, but the scripture doesn't indicate this. So, but anyway, there's just no source on this either that Horus was greeted by three kings.
But we'll just make it up. Like, this guy's right about his critique, dude. I went and researched it myself. I'm sorry, guys, didn't have much time. I haven't pulled up all the ancient texts for you and read them for you on here. I have done this myself, so you can don't just trust me, just go verify it, okay? But he is correct. That's what I found looking into. Dude, I'd have to read the whole story and then go back through it. Like, am I missing something? The whole story never alludes to it. And then I took it a step further. I went to Google and I'm like, where does it say that in the original text? Where does it say this? And none of them would be cited. So I looked back through it a final time. These things aren't even mentioned, bro. It's not that they took something that might mean it. It's just not even anywhere in the ballpark of being mentioned. And so if it's 2020 and you're running around talking about the Zeitgeist narrative, I mean, that's a bad look, bro, just in reference to your ability to independently verify or falsify things. It is one of the most laughably inefficient propaganda pieces in modern history. You should ask yourself right now, why?
It just seems to be invented. Horus was supposedly a teacher at the age of 12. No, there's
okay. I see my boy Mr. Anderson, because three kings is what the Orion's belt is referred to in ancient times.
no source that says that. And may I remind us, Jesus wasn't a teacher at the age of 12 either. He was asking questions. We have a short little account of how he went to the temple and asked lots of questions and how they were marveled at how wise he was. But we don't see him teaching at that age, which would be fine if he was, but that's just not what the account says.
And it doesn't even say that
like
Horus does, dude. It's all a lie.
At the age of 30? No. There's nothing like baptism in the story of Horus. Yet this is popular media, and people repeat this over and over again like it's just solid fact.
Does it sound familiar? You mean like how guys talk about the globe earth and how people talk about what's on CNN, and that's what people do with everything. So don't have a bias. And if you have some personal experience that makes you be like, God, Christianity's trash, and I'm throwing it in the trash can, I understand, bro. But like, do not be the very thing that you hate, right? Like irresponsible and not go look into the depths of anything before you make an opinion.
Closest thing to baptism.
I'll stop preaching to you guys, but I feel like some people in here need to hear it. So I'm not reading the chat. I don't want to hear about how people put it together, they're enlightened, and guys, just take in the information, man. I'm not here to argue churchian things.
Horus is associated with another deity who's the deity of embalming. Not exactly baptism. Very Egyptian, though, embalming. Well, the last one here is 12 disciples. Horus had 12 disciples. No, Horus had 4, quote, followers of Horus. That's what he had. He had, again, in addition to that, 16 blacksmiths. Now, it's true that 16 minus 4 equals 12, but this is not Common Core curriculum here. We're talking about how many disciples did he have, and he by either count, he either had 4, 16, or 20, but he didn't have 12. Not that it would be all that significant if he happened to have 12 followers, but the point is, these are supposed to be the best examples they've got.
Yeah, exactly. It's laughable. And I can't say too much because, again, I don't want to ruin the calendar stream, which I am putting together for you guys, but it's a lot. And so we obviously know the correlation with the sky and 12.
Born of a virgin. Actually, Dionysus is a result, depending on the story you follow, of either an affair between Zeus and a princess, a human princess, or between Zeus and his daughter Persephone. So it's one. Yeah.
I mean, how weird is that? And we're going to get into the Titans thing, guys. I'm going to do like a whole series on it.
One of the two is that's the result. That's how Dionysus was born. Supposedly, Dionysus was born on December 25th. There's actually no reference to a December 25th birth for Dionysus at all. There's just
the only reference any of these things have regarding that is the fact that they would be celebrated on a certain day regarding the sun and winter solstice, how it relates to the Southern Cross, how it has stopped and come up 3 days later, And this all stems back to Atlantis, the antediluvian era, referred to as the sun gods and or sun worshippers, which is where you get the Aryan race of nobility extending throughout the entire world. This is where you get the swastika that represents it, of course, representing the Dipper and the four seasons going around the central point. And this was the symbol constantly attributed to the Aryans, the sun worshippers of Atlantis, which is where all of this stems back to. So they constantly intertwined all expressions of any type of demigod or what you would call a religion or mythos to this phenomena in the sky. This is all centered around Helios, sun worship. And this is, of course, why you have the Statue of Liberty that you do. This has gone nowhere, and this is why they told you to celebrate Yeshua on Christ Mass on the 25th.
There's no source on that. Supposedly, he performed miracles. And my thought here is, okay, sure. Who cares? You have a deity, you would expect to hear stories about great deeds that this deity did. However, all that Dionysus did was basically give people wine. Dionysus is the god of wine.
Yeah, so he taught them how to, again, I'm going to break all of the little grabbler tricks embedded into these quote-unquote mythos very thoroughly. I think it's something a lot of people need to hear. But yeah, he's attributed to basically showing them how to press grapes and how to ferment the wine. And of course, yeah, we'll just stop there.
He gave out lots of alcohol. Now they say, Dionysus turned water into wine. So it's just like Jesus. However, in the many stories of Dionysus producing wine for people, he never once turned water into wine.
It's always grapes. He came down and taught them how to press grapes in the actual stories. Once again, I read them, so that's what frustrates me is when people don't even freaking research things. It's wild.
Which would not be terribly significant if he did, but he didn't. And it's notable that these internet attacks come at the expense of just truth. Supposedly he is the king of kings. No. There's two problems with this. One is that Dionysus is not that type of god. That would be like the Zeus or, the king of the gods sort of type character, way up there in the pantheon. Dionysus is the god of wine, right? Party, revelry, this sort of thing. There wouldn't be the appropriate title for Dionysus anyways. But also,
although some do attribute this to me, because there's numerous stories, right? And the grabblers have grabbled history so much, you'll take like 10 different stories that seem to have the same character that were the stories attributed to them, and they'll have different stories here and there, and they'll just like pick which ones they want to. They're actually getting the stories from the Watchers themselves. The Watchers didn't come down here in harmony, holding hands, like worship us as a whole. They actually had wars, constant depravity when it comes to stilling either human women or some of these other offsprings of the Watchers, stilling them, raping them, taking them to places they couldn't escape. Incest, so hooking up with their own daughters and sisters, and like literally marrying their daughters and sisters and mothers. And they were constantly fighting one another over these things, over rebellion, over more people following certain ones, over some of the Watchers or, these demigods coming and these titans coming and giving humans certain secrets that they weren't supposed to, right? And that's within the entire paradigm of the demigods, right? It was a constant battle. They're sunken in depravity and arrogance and pride and the need to be worshipped themselves, set apart. It's the actual special boy syndrome. It's the source of the secret kings that we have today, right? And so that's what you'll find out once we start to decode and break down a Clash of the Titans series, right? It's many of these stories really put things into perspective. They were fighting each other.
There's no sources. Dionysus has never called this. And finally, or second to last,
Well, I was saying all that to say Dionysus is sometimes referenced to the same character as Gilgamesh, etc. And he was referred to as like, it doesn't have to say king of kings. Like he was the one that took over the whole world.
And Omega, there's no source on that either. And Dionysus was resurrected. There was a resurrection. There's actually a really strange account of Dionysus, and you could call this a resurrection. This will show you how sometimes they take these comparisons to Jesus that are really far off, like insultingly far off, and then they ignore all the details and just go, yeah, see, it's like the same. So Dionysus, there's a strange account how he was ripped apart because Hera was mad about Dionysus, was ripped apart by the Titans, and how his heart was then taken and put inside, turned, and the heart was the only thing that was left, was taken, created into like a seed, and then that was put inside of a new mother, so then he had a second birth.
Yeah, that sounds like Yeshua, huh?
Not exactly the death, 3 days later resurrection account of Jesus that we're looking at here. It's just very far off. It's just weird kind of mythical stuff that you expect.
You also have to understand the Watchers. They knew about the prophecies of Son of Man. They knew a whole bunch of things. They were here the whole time, right? And so the sky is engineered as a very intricate clock. It's a timepiece to tell you, like, not just the progression of day and night, guys. Right? That's why the calendar stream is such a rabbit hole. No, the progression of all of existence. You know how the Polaris seems to go in just a little bit? Yeah, it's like as if time ends, maybe, right? And so these astrological alignments, that's how we know what his birth was. These are very, very important. And they're tied into the events when the Word became flesh in his life. Intrinsically, because the sky is a timepiece of events for signs and wonders to let you know what's going on when. Okay? They take this and subverted this into a worship of creation itself, and then they have their own demigods represent different portions of it. And just like with every good lie, there's a little truth to it, but it's just basically 1%. I mean, that's probably being generous.
In fact, the earliest accounts of this death and then the heart and all this weird stuff actually post-date Christianity. And this is the case. A lot of times the similarities between these other religions and Christianity had that quality before, and they actually post-date. And if there's any borrowing, it appears as though it was the popularity of Christianity that was then being borrowed from by these other religious groups. Christianity actually is more of the stalwart, we will not change, we will not compromise, we will not stop or add or take away type of group. Because this is a
oh, dude, don't hit me with the grabble. All right. So yeah, there you go. Broke it down decently. Like I said, dude, I've just been busy, man. I didn't have time to go compile all the ancient texts. Go look into it yourself. It's very easy. I'm gonna play another video for you in a second because I actually have to step away for a second anyway. This guy breaks it down pretty good too. And these are just videos that I looked up real quickly and found it. So that's why it's so frustrating that people just don't. They just don't research things, bro. You just don't research things without bias, do you? It's like people have already think that they've came to the information that makes them the special boys, and they can't. Guys, they're attacking this figure for a reason. Okay, so let's just go on to the next one, and I'm going to step away and let it play for a sec, and then I'll break it all down.
Plagiarized his having it from pagan stories. For the concept of his virgin birth, his baptism, his having disciples, his miracle working, his title as the Son of God, his death, and his resurrection are ideas that were taken from pre-Christ pagan myths and then mishmashed together to give us the unoriginal and recycled story of just another dying and rising savior figure, Jesus Christ.
Does it ever buy on the Mediterranean?
Look at this little grappler, dude. Like, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I would love to just drop kick this dude in the throat.
Gods that predate Jesus, who had the exact same outline and ministry as he did, it suggested that the story of Jesus is actually a knockoff of pagan stories that come before him. Here's a short clip from a documentary that was released called Zeitgeist.
Mithra of Persia, born of a virgin on December 25th. He had 12 disciples and performed miracles, and upon his death was buried for 3 days and thus resurrected. Dionysus of Greece, born of a virgin on December 25th, was a traveling teacher who performed miracles such as turning water into wine. He was referred to as the King of Kings, God's only begotten Son, the Alpha and Omega, and many others. And upon his death, he was resurrected. Horus was born on December 25th of the Virgin Isis Mary. Horus was crucified, buried for 3 days, and thus resurrected. The fact of the matter is, there are numerous saviors from different periods from all over the world which subscribe to these general characteristics.
Here, Rob Bell gets it on this idea too, in his series called Pneuma.
The claims of these first Christians weren't really anything new. Everybody's God had risen from the dead.
Look at Guys,
his
when
series-
people ask you what's a secret king, it's this guy right here. You can't even say it with a little umph. Look how lacking in conviction this guy is.
Heuristics.
I mean, if you can't tell this guy has no idea what he's talking about, just stop watching porn.
Here, Rob Bell gets it on this idea too, in his series called Pneuma.
The claims of these first Christians weren't really anything new. Everybody's God had risen from the dead. What makes yours so special?
What makes you so special? Must be nice.
There's Jacqueline Glenn, the popular YouTube atheist.
Mithras was a Roman god. He was the savior. He was sent to earth to live as a mortal. He died for our sins so that sinners could have everlasting life. But of course, he was resurrected from the dead. He was born from a virgin on December 25th. And guess what? He was born in an
Even her cat just wants to get out of here.
manger with lots of shepherds, and they referred to him as the light of the world. He also had 12 disciples, and they also had a Last Supper before he died. Now, a lot of different religious scholars will debate certain aspects of these different gods and say, well, that wasn't true, and that wasn't true. But you can't begin to debate them all. You can't say that there's no credibility for any of them being historically accurate, and historically accurate as saying that's how the people viewed that particular god. You can't dispute every single claim.
Of course you can, and we're going to do that right now. Here are 3 major reasons that we know Jesus is
I
not.
love you guys. This is perfect evidence why you shouldn't just go around like always blindly listening to women acting like they know what they're talking about. I love you women, but you know, I guess you would say some people might think she's pretty, and you're like, oh, she's
And
pretty
we're going to
girl.
do that right now.
She
Here
doesn't.
are
She has
3
no
major
idea.
reasons that we know Jesus is not a knockoff or plagiarism of pagan god stories. The first point is that the parallels are either not there or completely made up. Let's look at Mithra, for example. Mithra has absolutely no virgin birth. In fact, Mithra was not even born in a literal sense. He emerged out of a rock. Mithra was only born metaphorically, not literally. Here are some of Mithra's petrogenetrixes.
We just talked about this, but think of how funny it is. They tell you in the movie Mithra is born to a virgin, and the story is that Mithra came from a rock, bro. And then again, abiogenesis, right? Like nothing new under the sun.
Carvings indicating he was born from a rock. And the funny thing is, he even emerged out of this rock as an adult, not as a baby. Mithra has no mother, virgin birth, and certainly no manger. Mithra was also never actually killed, let alone crucified. As Mithra,
Someone said, know the difference between a woman and a bimbo. Touche.
manger. Mithra was also never actually killed, let alone crucified. As Mithraic scholar Gordon Richard says, there is no death of Mithras. And if he didn't die, that of course means there was no Last Supper, no crucifixion, no burial, and no resurrection on the 3rd day. Now, how about Dionysus? Dionysus was born from Zeus having sex with Semele. In Hesiod's poem called Theogony, it reads that, and Semele, daughter of Cadmos, was joined with him, Zeus, in love, and bare him a splendid son, joyous Dionysus, a mortal woman, an immortal son, and now they both are gods. And while some other stories cite Persephone as the mother of Dionysus, no stories indicate a virgin birth. Dionysus died by being torn up into a bunch of pieces by the Titans and boiled in a pot and eaten by them. There are at least 6 different accounts of what happens to him after that. While most restoration accounts are too ambiguous to matter, there is one story that reads Dionysus was deceived by the Titans and expelled from the throne of Jupiter and torn in pieces by them, and his remains being afterwards put together again, he returned as it were once more to life and ascended to heaven, pretty close to the story of Jesus. The problem is this source, Contra Celsum, was written by the early church father Origen in 248 AD, over 2 centuries after the story of Jesus had already been established and circulating.
Oh, nothing sketchy about that, huh? I guess they left that part out. Probably just another coincidence.
Is a post-Christ resurrection story. If anything, it may have been the Dionysus cults that adopted this idea from Christianity. As historian Dr. Gary Habermas has said,
I don't know anybody who thinks Dionysus is pre-Christian, not the resurrection portion.
So when it comes to Dionysus, we find no virgin birth, no crucifixion, and no pre-Christ bodily resurrection.
Again, but this comes back down to the correlations between Nimrod and the man of many names and dismemberment to 13 pieces while you have 13 colonies, et cetera, et cetera. So, like I said, we'll get into all that gravy in subsequent streams.
We find no virgin birth, no crucifixion, and no pre-Christ bodily resurrection. As for Horus, he also had no virgin birth. Isis had sex with Osiris after reassembling his body parts, which were torn apart and scattered over Egypt. As Egyptologist and professor at the University of Arizona, Dr. Richard Wilkinson has written, through her magic, Isis revivified the sexual member of Osiris and became pregnant by him, eventually giving birth to their child, Horus. Historian and professor Francois Denand writes, after having sexual intercourse in the form of a bird with the dead god she restored to life, she gave birth to a posthumous son, Horus. We even have an ancient depiction of Isis hovering over the erect phallus of Osiris. Was Horus crucified? There actually exists not a single record of Horus ever even dying. Since he didn't die, this means he wasn't buried in a tomb or resurrected from the dead. Atheist historian Bart Ehrman is one of the most renowned New Testament scholars of our day. He is professor of religious studies at the University of North Carolina. He has said that the alleged parallels between Jesus and the pagan savior gods in most instances reside in modern imagination. We do not have accounts of others who were born to virgin mothers and who died as an atonement for sin and then were raised from the dead, despite what the sensationalists claim ad nauseum in their propagandized versions. Historian J.Z. Smith famously said in his essay in the Encyclopedia of Religion, the category of dying and rising gods, once a major topic of scholarly investigation, must now be understood to have been largely a misnomer based on imaginative reconstructions in exceedingly late or highly ambiguous texts. There is no unambiguous instance in the history of religions of a dying and rising deity.
I can't disagree with that because, well, some people will argue that there's a false attempt of deification to an extent of Yeshua, even though it was the Word become flesh. But it's the mediator, right? Yeshua is the mediator, and of course, I hate religions, so.
Based on imaginative reconstructions in exceedingly late or highly ambiguous texts, there is no unambiguous instance in the history of religions of a dying and rising deity. So while the story of Jesus is often compared to pagan myths, primary sources for these myths demonstrate that the similarities are either spurious, ambiguous, or completely made up.
Yeah, and look, guys, you see how all the ones that are healed the sick, performed miracles. I've already broke that one down for you guys, right? Like, yeah, that doesn't mean anything. The Watchers came down and showed them all kinds of things that they would have considered miracles. So,
for these myths demonstrate that the similarities are either spurious, ambiguous, or completely made up. A second major point is that the story of Jesus can be established from historical sources, meaning any similarities we do find are unrelated to the origin of these beliefs about Jesus. It may surprise some to hear that all academic scholars agree Jesus existed as a historical figure. As Bart Ehrman says, there is no scholar in any college or university in the Western world who teaches classics, ancient history, New Testament, early Christianity, any related field, who doubts that Jesus existed.
And this is like what all atheist historians, just like that quote says, dude. Like, there is no scholar in any college or university in the Western world who teaches classics, ancient history, New Testament, early Christianity, any related field, who doubts that Jesus existed. And we have people going around saying that it's just a fairy tale. It just shows how ignorant your position is to say something like that. If you want to argue about it, your argue lies with the divination claim, right? Anything outside of merely a mortal human, anything like that's what you can argue. But to argue they didn't exist, you should ask yourself, why were we all told this mainstream fairy tale recollection that it's even viable intellectually to dispute his existence? Again, ask yourself, why would they have to lie about it?
New Testament, early Christianity, any related field, who doubts that Jesus existed. Graham Clark, professor of classical history and archaeology at Australian National University, has said, frankly, I know of no ancient historian or biblical historian who would have a twinge of doubt about the existence of a Jesus Christ. Furthermore, some aspects of the life of Jesus are universally agreed upon by historians. Let's take the crucifixion, for example. We can demonstrate the crucifixion of Jesus on 11 ancient independent sources, maybe even more. Our best secular source comes from the reliable Roman historian and senator Tacitus, where he writes, consequently, to get rid of the report, Nero fastened the guilt and inflicted the most exquisite tortures on a class hated for their abominations, called Christians by the populace, Christus, from whom the name had its origin.
By the populace. That's what they called them as a derogatory term.
Suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilatus. Atheist professor of New Testament history at the University of Göttingen, Gerd Ludemann, has said, Jesus' death as a consequence of crucifixion is indisputable. Bart Ehrman has said, one of the most certain facts of history is that Jesus was crucified on orders of the Roman prefect of Judea, Pontius Pilate. So even if we have pre-Christ myths of gods who died in some way, it's simply irrelevant, since Jewish, Roman, and Christian history all confirm that Jesus was killed on a cross. And if it happened in history, that means it wasn't plagiarized. His baptism, his belief that he had authority from God, his gathering of disciples, and his working of what people believe to be miracles are other established facts universally agreed upon by historians. Because these portions of Jesus' story are rooted in history itself, pagan myths have absolutely no bearing or relevance to the origin of these beliefs about Jesus.
No, you go somewhere else with that logic, because this isn't consistent with my emotional predisposition that I'm the special boy. So I don't want to hear the truth.
Pagan myths have absolutely no bearing or relevance to the origin of these beliefs about Jesus.
I see Mr. Anderson. Talmud mentions him, all right. Yeah, they do. They say he's burning in excrement.
Of these beliefs about Jesus. And the last major point is that this theory doesn't explain anything. It is said that the story of Jesus' resurrection was adopted and recapitulated from the stories of dying and rising gods in the ancient world. The problem with this is that most scholars agree that shortly after his crucifixion, the disciples had experiences of what they believed was the risen Jesus. Historians don't all agree on the nature of these experiences, but the fact that the disciples had experiences that caused them to believe Jesus had really appeared to them is itself a fact of history.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I found out, being non-biased with my research, right? Independently trying to verify or falsify. What I found out is that all the atheist historians know, not only did he exist, not only was he crucified, but that his tomb was empty and that there were numerous eyewitness accounts that they saw him afterwards. Now, as the atheist historians, not the little morons on the internet who don't know anything, yet they think that they're arguing what the subject matter experts on their side are arguing. It's just like globe earthers who don't even know what their own side argues. And they just assume that it's more bulletproof than it is. What you find out is that, again, they had to make up different explanations for it because of the historicity based on the historical value of evaluation that we use to this day, the parameters that everyone uses for historicity and the accuracy within, right? They know they have to explain the numerous accounts of seeing Yeshua afterwards, and they do so in many different ways. Group hallucinations, maybe they all took DMT or something, right? This is the kind of stuff that they say. But they're not foolish enough to act like he didn't exist. They couldn't have a job if they did that. And that's, you see the great irony of it all. Like, oh, who's stupid? It's the people that don't even know what, they haven't even gotten past the surface. They don't even know what the atheists on their side say about it. That's pathetic.
Experiences that caused them to believe Jesus had really appeared to them is itself a fact of history. Prominent atheist historian Ed Parrish Sanders has said that Jesus' followers, and later Paul, had resurrection experiences is, in my judgment, a fact. What the reality was that gave rise to the experiences, I do not know. Atheist historian Gerd Ludemann has said it may be taken as historically certain that Peter and the disciples had experiences after Jesus' death in which Jesus appeared to them as the risen Christ. In regards to the amount of experts who believe this, New Testament historian Mike Licona has said,
now I'm just giving you minimalistic things that virtually 100% of scholars would agree upon. And we can know that shortly thereafter, a number of his followers had experiences that persuaded them that Jesus had been raised from the dead and had appeared to them. That would be nearly 100%. And then you would have...
You're talking atheist scholars,
Jewish scholars, liberal, almost everybody.
Since we know the disciples really had these kinds of experiences, this means something caused them to have these experiences. Paul, for example, was a Jewish Pharisee who held to a strict Old Testament worldview. What kind of experience could cause Paul, a Jewish Pharisee who once ordered the execution of Christians, to believe he experienced a physical bodily appearance of Jesus Christ? Do we really think this experience was caused by him hearing a myth about Osiris being put back together?
This is where the special boys, they all say, oh, no, they were just taking, they'll say stuff like they were just taking DMT. They were just kooky, crazy religious zealots that took DMT. So you can just make up the most preposterous, crazy, grasp at straws arguments ever, and they're legit, right? But when we go based purely on the historical evidence of everything, we're the crazy people. You're going to start to see this theme a lot if you can put your bias aside, your bias of the word Jesus and Christianity and the corruption and misrepresentations of the scriptures. What is scriptures? What's been mistranslated in the current canon? When you can put all that aside, all of the pre-tribulation rapture, scare people into submission, give us your money, purgatory, nonsensical, wildly inaccurate, once saved, always saved, we're the special boys, give us money, we'll cut to the state. When you can look past that and look into everything, there's a very concentrated, concerted effort to misrepresent the true story. And now if the true story is it was just some dude that people followed around because he bucked the system, you wouldn't have to do that. You wouldn't have to engineer entire false flag events decades out all around when he was born. This is way deeper than people think that it is.
A Jewish Pharisee who once ordered the execution of Christians to believe he experienced a physical bodily appearance of Jesus Christ. Do we really think this experience was caused by him hearing a myth about Osiris being put back together by Isis? The mere presence of pagan stories floating around Jerusalem can't cause people to have these kinds of experiences, nor can it cause people to genuinely believe they found an empty tomb, another fact agreed upon by the majority of historians. This theory does not adequately address historical facts surrounding these resurrection claims, and it also requires us to make assumptions about the early disciples. We don't even know the disciples knew the details of these pagan stories, let alone that they were influenced by them. As Bart Ehrman has written, anyone who thinks that Jesus was modeled on such deities needs to cite some evidence, any evidence at all, that Jews in Palestine at the alleged time of Jesus' life were influenced by anyone who held such views.
Oh,
It also fails to offer a causal link between these pagan myths and the early beliefs about Jesus. It's not enough to say that Jesus' resurrection story sounds a little bit like the story of Dionysus.
But she thinks she's real pretty, so it has to be right.
Enough to say that Jesus' resurrection story sounds a little bit like the story of Dionysus. We must prove historically that these pagan myths caused the disciples to believe these things about Jesus, which is far too heavy of a burden of proof for any historian or skeptic to bear. This theory utterly fails as an explanation. Trygg Mettinger, a Swedish scholar and former professor at Lund University, has authored one of the most comprehensive works ever written in the field of dying and rising gods and its relationship to Christianity. He concludes his book by saying the following: "There is, as far as I'm aware, no prima facie evidence that the death and resurrection of Jesus is a mythological construct, drawing on myths and rites of the dying and rising gods of the surrounding world. While studied with profit against the background of Jewish resurrection belief, the faith in the death and resurrection of Jesus retains its unique character in the history of religions."
Of course, Yeshua. My bad. I actually hated religion, and I'm not, just so everyone knows, surely, I'm not condoning any of the work of these people or any of their opinions. My point is just hostile witnesses, atheist historians themselves tell you people that think that Yeshua is stupid, that actually you're stupid, and that you don't even know what you're supposed to be going out and arguing. And I just find that to be hysterically ironic. Just like the globe earthers that come and argue with me but don't know their own religion either. And of course, again, Yeshua hated religion. That was like literally what he spent his whole time rebuking, was the religious doctrine of men, the dogma that was being added to for control purposes and monetary incentives.
Of Jesus retains its unique character in the history of religions. History reveals something much different. We can clearly see that this theory relies on ambiguous or fabricated similarities. It ignores the wealth of historical evidence we have for Jesus, and it lacks causal significance as an explanation. For these three reasons, and many others, experts are universally convinced that pagan mythology had absolutely no role in the story of Jesus or the origin of Christian beliefs.
And guys, this is not, again, that's not even acknowledging the problem with his birth date. He didn't even acknowledge that. Like, you don't even have to. I didn't read this book until after I did my research. Okay? And again, just like with everything, Michael Heiser, I'm not stamping everything they say. Probably Alexandra is pretty good. Yeah, I think she's cool. I mean, I disagree with her heavily on the mark of the beast. I think it is an actual mark. I disagree with her on, well, she's right that the Antichrist, for example, it's a spirit, right? So like in place of Christ, imitation of Christ, basically putting yourself in the place of Christ. So when people go around and they're like, Yeshua was telling us all that basically we're Yeshua too, like we're the same. And when you put yourself in place of Yeshua, because Yeshua did say you can do things as powerful as I did and even more powerful. But he did not say in any way that a human being would in any way be comparable to the Word becoming flesh and living a completely sinless life. It's blasphemous, which is the crazy part of all, right? That's the Antichrist spirit. Yeah, she's right about the Antichrist spirit. But the son of perdition, is a figure. And the mark of the beast, it's a mark. And it says this pretty clearly in the Hebrew. It says like an engraving, right? So I disagree with her strongly on that. I don't really see it to be a problem, though, because if people are looking at it like I need to be on my P's and Q's and not even partake in any type of beast system in a spiritual sense either, that's not going to hurt anyone, right? Surely the people that think like that aren't going to take a physical mark either. But yeah, there's an actual figure that rises. So that would be my take. Gospel Bear, what's up, homie? I see my boy Gospel's in here. He's a legend. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, there are some interesting connections between what happens with the Qumran text and the Q thing, maybe. Oh, that's some potential gravy. I'll have to look into it. I'm not sure. She's dead wrong on the two witnesses. That's the worst interpretation she's made, but she tries and does good work. Yeah. See, I agree. I think that I think she's cool. She's cool with me, but she's wrong on a lot of things. And like, dude, I always stay out of these. I'm not a prophet. I'm just telling y'all what I've put together, what I've prayed about, what I've researched, stuff like that. What I feel I've been given clarity about. What's my take on the psalm that says, "Ye are gods"? Well, we're made in the image of God, and so our spirit is a part of the overall, creative spirit, if you will, right? But like, we're in a very limited temporal vessel, and we're just a small portion of it. So it's just like when the Bible says, like, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. I think it's being literal. I think it's saying like you could literally move a mountain, bro, but no one has faith like they're supposed to. And like, I've never seen anyone move a mountain, and that's why Yeshua said, like, look, you can do things I've done and greater, right? So, but we, like the sons of God, and we're made in the image of God, but we are not a God. We are not God. And this will be the great deception. The great deception will be that you can be a God and be the Antichrist spirit. But there will be a figure, a son of perdition, that rises up. He was mocking them, saying, does it not say in your scripture that he are gods? Yeah. Why do you follow a book written by grabblers and forced on European ancestors? Our ancestral gods and goddesses were turned into demons by Christianity and Catholicism. That's a cool story, bro. But actually, Enoch is way older than your little books that you're talking about right now, so I don't know what you're talking about. All the polytheistic pagan belief systems, that came from the Watchers, dude. So yeah, I don't want anything to do with the Watchers. And no, the westernized Christianity is one of the number one things that I slaughter on this channel. I don't know if you're new here or what, but like literally almost every show I slaughter modern Christianity. So that's kind of my whole point. Why was there such a concerted effort to propagate this belief system and this religion onto the Western world? But not just the whole story. They took the real story, changed it, completely subverted it, took parts of it out, mistranslated it, removed entire scriptures, flooded it with interpretive Bibles and interpretive doctrines, and then literally subverted and infiltrated every single ministry school. And now it's taught all throughout the Western world. You should ask yourself, why? Why do they have to do all that? If it's all just fake, why do they have to do that? But I guess everyone wants to skip over that answer because they want to be the special boys, and they think that if they astral project, they're special boys. I think in Hebrew it's referring to Elohim. Yeah, but another thing that a lot of people say, Elohim is plural, plural, plural. It's all about the subject-verb agreement. That word's the same for singular or plural, and the way that, which of course you could say El, right? But the thing is, you have to know the subject-verb agreement in Hebrew. Everything is grabbled. Every single thing. But Yeshua talks through the scriptures, but it's just because he's way stronger than some little grabbler's tricks. But I'm not real big on the dogmatic, like, I know for a fact that these 66 books are exact. No, you don't, dude. And I would probably venture to say you may not have prayed and fasted and tried to figure it out, because you wouldn't be saying that. Honestly, I think the Book of Enoch is a pre-flood text. I forgot I had a super chat up here. I hope I didn't miss it. You should debate Jeffrey Daughtry. He tries to debunk Christianity. He does call-in shows almost every night. I've had a couple people say something to me about him. I don't know much about him. I guess I might try to call in and debate him or something one time. I don't know. If he just takes calls from everybody, I'd do it. But thank you for the $5 super chat, Brian. It is much appreciated, my man. All right, come back down here. Yeah, astral projection is laughable, dude. I mean, dude, I already told you guys, astral projection's real. Like, peeking beyond the veil, taking DMT is real. It's real. But the veil is put there for your protection, dude. That's the crazy part. All right. And that's why I broke down the Matrix, dude. Lucifer tells you his self speech in the movie, bro. You're trapped here, Neo. You have all kinds of rules. There was a wool pulled over your eyes. Do you want to see the real truth? The crazy part is we cannot just tell you. You have to see it for yourself. So come on over here and be a special boy. Take some DMT and some acid. You know, meditate, go to sleep, and focus on astral projection. Keep seeking it, because I told you I can only show you the door. I cannot open it for you, because you have to open the door. They can't mess with you if you don't, because Yeshua put a freaking veil here for you. All right. And even prior to you getting right with Yeshua, there's still a veil here to protect you. Right. But when you go and you seek it, you've opened the door. And just like in the Matrix, the girl was right there, like, oh, hey, what's up? You're just on time. They're waiting for you to do it. So there you go. And it's very obvious. That's why I get so frustrated when people freak out about the ether. Like, it's the only intellectually viable option or framework to explain observable phenomena. In fact, it's beyond counterintuitive. I would go as far as to say it's incredibly preposterous to claim that there isn't something there, because our eyes can only perceive a small portion of vibration, but we know that there are way more vibrations than what we can perceive. And that means there's things around you that you cannot perceive with the eyes, the optics, engineered by the designer himself, which modern science can't even explain to this day. They cannot explain the neural activity tied to the eye. They can't explain anything to do with the eye. It's laughable. So there you go. I mean, there's obviously a metaphysical realm. That's what the Matrix is referring to, right? Like, you're pulling out of when you pull out of the Matrix, you're pulling out of this physical realm with your physical temporal body, where it has a veil God gave you, and you get to see beyond the veil. You can be the special boy. You want to see beyond the veil? God put you here and trapped you. But Lucifer's the architect that put everything together, and he's got the secrets for you. You can be a special boy like me. You can be a secret king. Here are the secrets. You ever notice all the people that get abducted or whatever? Like, they always are told that they're the special ones. You were chosen. You're the special one, right? And then they flee when they hear Yeshua's name. So it's much more real than people may want to acknowledge or admit. And if they do admit it, it can only be under the guise of, special boy interpretation, that they're the ones that figured it all out and they're a god, and that you get to keep coming back here. Like, oh, you get to just keep coming back to earth. Don't worry if you mess up. You get to come back. It's just until you figure out that you're a god. Cool story, bro. Is the Lord Yahweh the same as God, Elohim? You have to be really specific to the verse. I don't know. Yeah, but and then Yahweh is even a whole nother thing. That's a loaded question. I'll say Yah. Boy, Yahweh's decently close to accurate from my research, and Elohim could be referring to numerous things in different contexts. It actually depends on the original language, the original subject-verb agreement, the actual scripts themselves. So, loaded question. I tried to answer, though, bro. But thank you for the $2 super chat, Brian. Much love. Always appreciated. We're the best. What's up, Matrix? We got no Rogans down. That's cool. Don't worry, the Gammas will find it. DMT allows demons to possess you. Yeah. It takes you into the veil, takes your spirit out of your body. That's what astral projecting does. And then your body's empty, bro. Your body's just sitting there empty. You know how many people have told me about their astral projection stories and that when it's over, they feel like they fell back down into their bed? They fall back. They feel like they fall into their bed. Yeah, they fell back into their body, bro. So if there's some like entities in the metaphysical realm that you cannot perceive that want you to come over here and they're just waiting behind the door on you, and then they pull you in here and they show you all these secrets which are constantly contradictory and super confusing and they don't make any sense, and then they lure you in with kindness and they flip on you and you're super uneasy, but then you leave thinking that you have some epiphany of revelation, but you can't ever recollect it or understand it. It's just a constant, complete and total state of confusion. And these very things that are pulling you in here and making you get deceived, you're going to leave your body literally open to them, like literally just empty your body from your spirit from your body and leave it there. Like that sounds like a good idea. What could possibly go wrong? And in the Matrix, it also tells you, he's like, looks at the blood. He's like, wait, so I thought this was just, in my mind. He's like, the body cannot survive without the mind. They're straight up telling you like, dude, this is a very dangerous thing to mess with and it can have real life ramifications. Because you are still in real life. The metaphysical realm isn't like a different world. It isn't like a whole different dimension. Now you've gone to a different planet or whatever they want to say. No, it's the same world, bro. It's right here, right now. It's all around me right now. This lamp right here, this is just exciting a certain part of the medium so that we can perceive it as light. All that was still already here. Everything is already here. You're not perceiving a realm that isn't here. It's already here. And so whenever a lot of these Eastern religions, they tell you about the stuff, it's not like it's just some kooky mythos that they made up, right? It's like it comes from real practices. And there were real things that were revered as gods, that were big and had all kinds of secret little powers. I think that's the only one I have on here. Let me check real fast. Shout out to everybody on D-Live again. Y'all are the best. We got 60 kicking on D-Live, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Larry, for the lemons. Alberta and Nico Bear for the lemons. You are the best. Much appreciated. Yahweh is Father. Elohim is Godhead. Okay. Frequency and sound is the fifth element. Ether is the fifth element. Right, that's the New Age belief that ye are gods. Yeah, exactly, and that will be the final one. That will be the final deception. But like I said, thanks for kicking on D-Live. Let's see. I wonder if I was thinking about doing the little membership things on YouTube and D-Live, but I don't know anything about them. I don't know. I kind of feel like that's kind of gravel-tastic. I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think. If I should do that. Little memberships, y'all know what I'm talking about? You can have a little membership with perks or whatever. I don't know. But it would be real cool if I could focus more on this. I could free up enough time to focus on this. That way I could have adequate time for research of all these things. Doesn't matter. I'm about to just take off anyway. We're just going to take off and see how it works. Go around the country. Step out in faith, huh? That way I feel like I'll have a real life application to dusting my feet. I'll literally go from town to town. If he feels me. But I have to use the bathroom, so I'll be right back. Hey, I don't know if y'all have ever heard this song, but it's super cool, dude. I just heard it the other day. Y'all probably going to like it. It's called In the Field.
That's for Israel. Wonder is it real? Rappers acting say they high, say they simple pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up, had to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real? Took the way you saw the world, then distorted it. Now you think you wanna rock that twirl somewhere orbiting. Theories disproportionate, the truth distorted. forceful grip. They force him a symptom that we absorbing quick. Took the people's signature to mean extorted it. They forging it if news anchors informants who informing them there's a surplus, but they tell us there are shortages. Credit economy mortgages, dollar that's supported with empty fortresses. But what's important is this: we port and ships important. Yes, of course it is, but extortion is in accordance with an assortment list of foreign tricks we ignoring, which informing this, informing this. It looked like we were snoring tricked. Pedophilia and the government endorsing it. Yeah, eugenics is exactly what abortion is. You just vilify those insubordinate. Way to matrix engineer, that's unfortunate. Geopolitically, we in a field that's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Rappers actors say they high, say they sip with pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up just to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in a field that's for Israel. Wonder, is it real?
Oh, we lost some people, to be expected. Yeah, dude. Y'all ever heard that song, bro? Well, who made that song? Calling out the Grabblers. Let's see here. I want to see. I think I found. All right, whatever. Forget it. So yeah, very simply, it's all this is real simple, to be honest. Zeitgeist is a complete and total laughable depiction of some, baseless assertions to try to undermine the validity and the historicity of Yeshua. You should ask yourself why, but of course you're being dishonest. Think you already got figured it out, then you won't do that. Bill Maher's a little grabbler cuck, probably a sodomite, has no idea what he's talking about, isn't even funny, just says morbid, depraved nonsense and very terrible timing. And I think I could be a funnier comedian than him right now, talking about literally anything that I decide to talk about. Yet he's propped up as to be some talented little grabbler that actually is funny and useful when it comes to presenting information. They propagated a whole bunch of truth bombs in there that appear to give the illusion of fighting against the mainstream narratives so that they could coax people into compliance of what they said. That's all that the Zeitgeist is. They tell you about 9/11. Oh my gosh, how incredibly profound that buildings don't just have fuel blow up and then fall at free fall speed, where passports pop out of fire, and then World Trainer 7 falls at free fall speed because of an office fire. Coincidentally, on the same day, all of these structural anomalies that cannot happen just happen to all happen simultaneously on the same day, where they claim that they're doing a freaking event or some practice event where they're expecting to find planes that are hijacked and gone off of target or off of route, so that they were just all ignored. And then they announced there were trillions of dollars missing. And then that's where the Pentagon was hit. And then there's no images or debris of plane anywhere at the Pentagon or of the place in Pennsylvania or of 9/11, right? Or, World Trade Centers. Dude, what a cool story. Like, oh, they came out and they told you that 9/11's official story wasn't real, right? It's just ridiculous. And a lot of people have like this thing, they want to hold on to this because they walk up some normies to certain things like that. Well, that's cool. Whatever, dude. That's not how I operate. I slaughter sacred cows and I'm decapitating the nonsense that is Zeitgeist. Every single aspect of it is complete and total nonsense. Every bit of it. Every single bit of it. I researched it myself. I encourage you to do the same thing. When you go read the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? So you have the Sumerian, Babylonian, Akkadian tablets. I consider like the oldest ones or whatever. Of course, Enoch was just removed from the face of the earth because, God forbid, we get the context and understand that actually our scriptures are the first thing ever, right? Because if you knew that, you wouldn't be able to make up all the excuses and the stupid remedial nonsensical claims like all of these other things predate Yeshua and predate the story and predate the scriptures and predate the Bible just written by man. What about all these stories came way before it? Ha ha, joke's on you. They didn't come before it. And that doesn't really work with your little narrative, does it? And that's what I don't get. I guess people think, well, what do people think about? When it comes from my perspective, what do you people think's going on here? That I'm just like trying to fulfill some religious bias I have, because my bias was actually against religion, was against the very belief about Jesus. Like that's what my bias was against. So it's just so incredibly laughable when people are like really diet woke, yet they think they have to go tell everybody about how woke they are. Why does the Lord create the world and everything in it right after God does in the very beginning of Genesis? Did the Lord put us in the matrix? No, I don't know. I have to look into your question a little bit more because, again, all the modern translations are super grabbled. But, well, the word was there at the beginning. You know, you immediately have light. And so my boy Vader Bear dropped some gravy on that, right? It's like, I'm going to open up the phone lines here in a second if anyone wants to jump on. But where he's like, if you think about it, once light and dark was separated in the beginning, the battle was already won, right? And of course, God exists outside of time, and we're looking at it with the purview of these like limited, carnal minds, and we're like putting everything in a timeline, right? Like, why does God let bad things happen? Like, why doesn't he intervene? He intervened whenever he separated light and darkness, right? It's like at the beginning, it's intrinsic in creation itself. Pretty interesting. I don't know, like the Grabblers would say that Lucifer is the grand architect, so the creation itself was here, but Lucifer helped put stuff together. He does reign over the earth. Light bearer, right? If he's in charge of facilitating light, that's a very important role in the hierarchy of the luminaries, which are angels, as I see it. And he just thought he was a little special boy, right? He was up there high in front of the top, in charge of the choir, blah blah blah. And then he just got the special boy syndrome and wanted to come down. So does he have something to do with some of the architecture of the earth? There may be a lot of truth to that itself, and that may be why they think their Gnostic religion is so special and so accurate. I don't really know. I don't make definitive claims. What I've learned is, and what I learned from praying a lot about it too as well, is you do not know some of the things you think you definitively know that are in the scriptures. They're being tainted, but like they didn't like taint the entire book. It's little bitty changes here and there. They'll take a whole sentence out. They'll just manipulate like a subject verb agreement, and it'll change the whole context. No one will know because no one knows how to speak Hebrew. No one goes and looks at Aramaic or any of the original languages or the text before that. Just like the Gospels, where there's a Hebrew version of Mark, but everyone just thinks there's just the Greek version. And so they've grabbled a lot of stuff, dude. And you just got to get to the bottom of it. King James wrote a book about demonology and said that he was the vicar of Christ, dude. So, no, I don't care what that dude says. But anyway, thank you for the $4.99 super chat, Brian. Much appreciated. Y'all are the best. My boy Gospel gave you a good answer, I'm sure. No questions, Austin? Seriously? I'm not sure what you mean. The story of Nicodemus is straight out of the Talmud and not the Bible. That's fine. It was actually presented as such. The Talmud has nothing to do with Yeshua. Well, they say Yeshua is burning an excrement. That has something to do with him. Isn't it funny that they hate him? They couldn't even just completely ignore him, though. And the Talmud's light work, guys, like the real practice is Kabbalah, okay? And this is predominantly oral teachings, which is why you have to get in these little cults and these little groups. They think that they're the special boys. The Kabbalah is the actual real esoteric practices. The Talmud, super dark and gets into the darker side of things and like pedophilia. And again, like when it comes to this occultic sex magic, which tracks back to the Aryans, tracks back to the Atlantis, the Atlanteans, which come back all the way full circle to the Watchers. They give you, that's what they're known for, is sex magic. And that's what the hexagram, I told you guys what it actually represents. It's more accurately translated with the etymology. A sexagram, it's about occult magic and sex. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what it all comes from, if you understand what I was trying to say. What I'm trying to say is like they do very dark sexual occultic practices such as like pedophilia and stuff like that. And they have specific guidelines on how to do it to achieve the most, spiritual enlightenment and residue and all this crazy nonsense. So, truth is stranger than fiction, but I don't care. What do you think of the protocols of the learned elders of Zion? They just put their playback book out in front of everybody and still no one knows what's going on. Is this creation real, meaning objective and physical? Yes, 100%. I do not think that reality is fluid. It can't be. There is not an intellectual framework I've come across or been able to come up with myself that would even be viable. So reality is not fluid. As in, matter is a real thing. Your life's a real thing. You don't just keep looping back and forth. That's just some nonsensical doctrine that tickles ear so people can think that they're God and can do whatever they want to, and they can adopt a subjective worldview where morality itself is subjective and there is no linear code of ethics. It's one of the greatest deceptions that will make a ton of people fall in the end. So I think that's pretty much your answer. Yeah, it's creation real. I don't buy the whole like reality's fluid thing. I just think it's nonsense. Personally, I don't buy it. I will say I lean a little bit towards what Tesla said an extent, which is that matter itself is when the ether itself is actually thrown into infinitesimal, prodigious worlds of velocity, manifesting as matter. Then when the energy resides or subsides, it reverts back into the ether itself. So simply, infinitesimal, prodigious worlds of velocity, just very, very small, super fast worlds of velocity of emotion within the etheric background. The background medium will actually manifest as matter due to a certain frequency that it attains, right? And this vibration gives it matter, gives it a material resonance. And if that was to ever reside, it would revert back into the ether, its original state. This ties in perfectly with what light is. Light itself is the background. It's just a perceivable vibration of it. So you see how there's our eyes, our eyes were designed by the Creator so that you have a certain perception of this existence, and it's for your benefit, right? And there's something way greater. There's a huge spectrum of vibration and frequency way beyond that. And you're supposed to be learning in this process with this protective veil there. And as you start to learn through the process, they're jealous of you, basically. The Watchers are jealous of you because you can get right with Yeshua. You can figure things out. You can start to cut your sin out and repent and live for Yeshua and be good to go. And they know that, but they can't do that anymore. So they're basically jealous, and they're like, well, if we're going down swinging, and we're going to bring the humans down with us. What's up, Austin? What do we know about Atlantis? Also, you believe the stars, luminaries, or angels? Explain, please. Yes. So what do we know about Atlantis? Not much, other than there was an I don't know how you would say it. Then what is it? Atlanteans. Yeah, the Atlanteans isn't just complete and total fiction. You would just have to throw out your entire parameter of historical value to even say something like that. And all the little grabblers think they're special because they track back to them. Yes, I think Atlantis was real. I think it was a civilization that was very big out in the Atlantic Sea. It's not there anymore. It's been swallowed up, right? Natural disasters have stepped in and intervened. And who's in control of natural disasters? Of course, the one true Creator. And I think the luminaries are angels. Yeah, I think the luminaries are angels. Yeah. So, that's what Enoch says. And there's a scientific way to look at that too, right? Cymatics. So you know that with cymatics, you have a certain frequency. If you put it in water, it'll actually emit light, whatever that means. But yeah, there will become an illumination, right? So sonoluminescence, star in a jar. Well, we know that the firmament separates the heavenly waters from the earthly waters, that they're singing majestic praises. So that itself would actually be perceived as illumination through a fluid-like medium. And then the planets, which the etymology just means wanderer. What did they wander from? They wandered from their appointed path and instructions from the one true Creator. They bucked the system. Now they're put in change, is what Enoch says. And so you have these different type of motions with the planets. And then that's why they're all called these different deities, because they're the rebellious ones that are revered by these little Gnostic grabblers. And that's why every planet other than the Earth, which of course isn't a planet, is given a deity's name, except for the Earth. That's not weird though, right? No one puts that together, that the Earth's the only one they didn't call some like demigod's name. But yeah, so there you go. I do indeed think they are. And this ties into, dude, I've had some very spiritual moments where simultaneously when I have like an epiphany of understanding, shooting star simultaneously shoots across the sky with the very thought itself. So take it or leave it. God's peace to all. You keep on seeking the truth, seek God in His Word, and as He has revealed Himself in reality itself. Good night, y'all. Agreed, and much love. Gospel Bear is a legend. Go show him some love on YouTube, unless you're a loser. Let's check everyone out on D Live. Thank you, Redford Bear, for taking care of maybe the Secret Kings, I don't know what they're doing. Grabblers are the worst. I can't disagree. Again, thanks for the lemons, Larry, Nico, Marty. You are the best. Okay. Yes, I think that's about it, man. I mean, I just wanted to cover that. I'll open up the phone just a second. Oh, there was another real good video that was short to show. I can't find it. Just a second. Let's check this one out. I have no idea about this one, to be honest. But I have something else kind of going on. I just gotta keep an eye on it.
This is Horus. He is the sun god of Egypt of around 3000 BC. He is the sun anthropomorphized, and his life is a series of allegorical myths involving the sun's movement in the sky. From the ancient hieroglyphics in Egypt, we know much about the solar messiah. For instance, Horus, being the sun or the light, had an enemy known as Set, and Set was the personification of the darkness or night.
Yeah, this is the Luciferian doctrine. Light and dark, dark and light. There's nothing new under the sun. Get it? Under the sun. See what I did there?
And metaphorically speaking, every morning Horus would win the battle against Set, while in the evening Set would conquer Horus and send him into the underworld.
Let's first start with Set. Set was the god of the desert, god of violence, the god of disorder. The sun god was actually Ra. Horus was the god of the sky. That means he had dominion over the sun and the moon. The sun was his right eye, and the moon was his left eye.
Broadly speaking, the story of Horus is as follows. Horus was born on December 25th of the Virgin Isis Mary.
First off, nowhere in any biblical text does it say that Jesus was born December 25th.
Oh, maybe this guy's based.
So any future parallels with any other figure are completely debunked off of this claim alone. Secondly, Horus was not born to a virgin. The story of his birth is as follows.
Sorry, I know we covered some of this. It's been reiterative. This is only 7 minutes. Like I said, I gotta kind of go keep an eye on this food real fast. So I'm gonna play this, and hopefully y'all can apply some discernment if needed. I'll be right back in like 1 minute. I just needed a video to go.
Horus was not born to a virgin. The story of his birth is as follows. Osiris and Set were brothers to sister Isis. Isis was married to her brother Osiris. Set, who was always jealous of his brother's power, killed him, chopping him into many pieces, scattering him all throughout the land. Isis, emotionally distraught, sought out to find all the pieces she could find of her husband Osiris. She was able to find everything except for his phallus, in which then she used magic and incantations to create a new one out of gold, in which she used to become pregnant. When she became pregnant, she fled to the Nile Delta marshlands to hide from her brother Set, because she knew that Set would kill her son as well. So you see, there is nothing virgin about that at all. Not to mention the name used here, Isis Mary. There is no such Egyptian text that refers to her as Isis Mary. Mary was simply thrown in there to attempt to connect with the Virgin Mary, which is only cute at best, but it only works in the English translations. And we all know the original texts were not written in English.
His birth was accompanied by a star in the east, which, in turn, 3 kings followed to locate and adorn the newborn Savior.
You will not find any ancient Egyptian text that speaks of any star accompanied with his birth, or 3 kings to follow. This falls under the category of, I read it on the internet, so it must be true. Secondly, to tie this in with Jesus is also false. Jesus, although in biblical texts was accompanied by the Star of Bethlehem, was not found by 3 wise men. According to the text, they were magi, and it was never mentioned how many there were, although it did mention him being presented with 3 gifts, one of gold, incense, and myrrh. Traditions, however, mention 3 magi by names.
Yeah, because all the traditions are grabbled. And this, again, should ask you guys the question, why do they have to grabble the story of Yeshua if it's all already fake?
Gaspar, Melchior, and Balthasar, but the texts themselves do not say that there were only 3. Clearly, they are obviously confusing the Bible with a famous Christmas song.
At the age of 12, he was a prodigal child teacher. At the age of 30, he was baptized by a figure known as Anup, and thus began his ministry.
Horus was never a child prodigal teacher. In fact, he was...
I'm sorry, this is super boring to me, guys. I love you guys. Maybe y'all agree that's just Horus was no, like, dude, could you be more monotone? Oh my goodness. But dude, I was thinking, I never told y'all this story. This is a pretty cool story. I told some people on 24/7. So as it pertains to the stars, and there's something like very special about it, and we don't realize how like spiritually interconnected we are with them. So I was driving down the interstate, well, really 412, and I was looking directly straight ahead, and I saw a star fall down. So it wasn't a shooting star. I've seen, I don't know, like hundreds of shooting stars. This star just fell straight down. It did not have a tail behind it. It wasn't real bright and illuminated. It looked just like all the other stars. It fell straight down in front of me, and it disappeared right as it got like a little bit above the horizon. And it was in the sky for like a very small period of time, but it wasn't going nearly as fast as shooting stars. Dude, this thing, it like freaked me out. I pulled my compass out. I can't remember. I have the exact coordinates written down of where it was in the sky while I was driving, trying to focus on driving. Dude, this star just fell out of the sky, bro. It was super crazy. And I've seen hundreds of shooting stars, dude. I was freaking out. So I pull my phone out. I get the compass out. And then, of course, you can't see it on my phone, like with a video or anything. Then my entire phone glitches out, and just the service just dies on it. Just completely died, and there's no service. It's not like it's telling me there's no service or whatever. Just everything's just wiped out. My phone, just brand new iPhone 12, just goes crazy. And it starts glitching out with all kinds of apps popping up and down on the phone. And I had to reset it, bring it back, and then it worked. Now, I mean, just an anecdotal story, not telling you what it is, what it means, anything like that, but every detail is 100% true. Pretty weird if you're being honest. And again, the star just falls out of the sky, dude, right in front of me. It was really, really, really crazy. So I don't know if that means anything to anyone else. Maybe they have some insight. Do you see a lot of falling stars last night? I didn't look in the sky last night. So anyway, I thought that was pretty wild. Same story as Istar and Tammuz. Look, this is what we're gonna do, guys. So, I think it's supposed to rain again tomorrow, so I can't really work anyway. So, so much for the bills, I can't work when it rains. Let me just make sure, because I think it's supposed to rain tomorrow. Definitely gonna rain Wednesday. So anyway, kind of sucks for me in lots of ways, but either way, I'm going to really research this calendar thing and these Titans things, still research them, and then we're going to just go ahead and knock it off. I'm going to start like maybe the Clash of Titans series, and where we'll do like 1 or 2 a week or something, but that's about it. I'm trying to find. I was going to watch Gods of Egypt. That's sounds lame. You have the big pick and a lot of details. Any details you have questions on? Sure, I have tons of questions that I don't know the answers to, what's the total number of scriptures? And where's the most ancient copy, the more accurate copy of Enoch? And you know, specifically how the sky itself works and what the mechanisms are. And like whenever Enoch describes portals, etc., I want to know more about that. They have all kinds of questions. It's a pretty vague question, bro, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know tons of stuff. Magi, aka the followers of Zoroaster. They can create nothing. They can only manipulate and play with what Yah has already created. I agree. Austin actually gets it. Isn't it funny that whenever all these people make hit pieces on me and stuff, they have to, like, just to say my name, they have to give me a compliment. It's pretty hilarious. Today we're going to be covering WitsitGetsIt. Thanks, bro. What was the link to that video? The last one I was playing? I'll drop all of the links in the chat. I mean, in the description. Actually, I'll just do it right now because I always say that and then I never do. So if you refresh after I tell you we're good, then it'll have them all in there. All three videos. My FE meetup got struck down too, dude. My video. It's just kind of ridiculous, man. Oh, no. All right. Bear with me. Show links. Dude, if I type something wrong again, I'm just going to throw the computer, dude. All right. First link. Sorry, I know sometimes I say I'm going to drop them and I forget to do it, so I just figured I'd go ahead and do it. And then we'll cover one little part of current events, which I normally don't like to get too in depth in because it's just all just a joke and the world the stage. But and all right, there you go. They're all now in the description. So if you want the links to any of the 3 videos, you can find them right there. I have people saying that they wanted to watch the end of that one. Let's just do it. I don't see what it can hurt. If someone's bored or whatever, man, you know, whatever, dude. You don't got to be here. Because I've never seen it. Let's just watch it together.
Till she thought that he would be ready to be the ruler of Egypt. And Horus has no accounts of being baptized by anyone, let alone someone named Anup. In fact, Anup is an alternate spelling for Anubis. Anubis was an embalmer. He prepared bodies for the transcending into death. He was not a baptizer. Also, there are no records of his 12 disciples in any ancient Egyptian texts. There are, however, references to the 4 sons of Horus, or even the 6 semi-gods that followed him, or possibly 16 human companions who followed him. But this here is another claim by someone with a direct agenda. But simple fact-checking alone debunks this as well.
Horus had 12 disciples he traveled about with, performing miracles such as healing the sick and walking on water.
Horus, in fact, has been known in scripts and texts to heal people with the saliva. So now we finally found a real comparison. However, there are no accounts anywhere of him ever walking on water.
Horus was known by many gestural names such as the Truth, the Light, God's Anointed Son, the Good Shepherd, the Lamb of God, and many others.
In many texts, he was known as the Sky God, which means he governed over the sun. He was not the sun god. He was the god of kingship, the god of vengeance and protection. However, as an elder, he was referred to as the Son of Truth. That is because he upheld Mat. Mat symbolizes truth, balance, order, law, morality.
Oh, does this look familiar to you guys? Should look familiar.
Balance.
Well, we've all seen this. Everyone should already at least know that everything about America is built upon Egyptian quote-unquote mythology. Every single part of it.
Order, law, morality, and justice. He was never referred to as a Lamb of God, a Shepherd of God, or the Son of Man. Possibly, if twisted, the Lightbringer, but even that is a far stretch.
After being betrayed by Typhon, Horus was crucified, buried for 3 days, and thus resurrected.
Anyone who knows anything about crucifixion knows the crucifixion was a Roman execution. Egyptian mythology alone predates this by thousands of years. According to one tale, when Horus was still a child, Set found out about his birth, and he poisoned him with stings of scorpions. As he was dying, his mother Isis called out to the sun god, Ra, to restore him. In this tale, there is no mention of him being dead for 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, every
These attributes of Horus, whether original or not, seem to permeate many cultures of the world, for many other gods are found to have the same general mythological structure.
Yeah, we already covered it. It's just complete and total nonsense, dude. We got 65 in D-Live. What's up, homies? Nico Bear, thanks for the lemons. Top contributor, Nico Bear. Oh, man, much love. So, yeah. What's up, Nathan? All right, so I think that's pretty good. We're about to hit 2 hours. I was going to open up the phone lines, but I think 2 hours are pretty good. We pretty much thoroughly dismantled the nonsense that is Zeitgeist propaganda film. Very simply, dude, the overarching theme here, the easiest way to just clearly behead and eviscerate the nonsense that is Zeitgeist is they say that, well, all of these pagan polytheistic religions, they all have a same underlining theme. They all refer to their deities on December 25th. Now, most of the actual original scripts never claim that they were born on December 25th, like almost none of them. But some of them allude to it, and most of them were revered on practices around the winter solstice because of, again, the sun stopping, coming back up, how it pertains to the Southern Cross, etc., etc. So there is some correlations here. The way that things have been twisted. But the point is, Yeshua wasn't born on December 25th. So there's actually no true correlation because Yeshua wasn't born then. He wasn't born in the winter. He was born within a 90-minute interval on September 11th. So right there, your entire premise is it's over. So guys, research things before you create an entire worldview around it, right? Like that would probably be the smartest thing to do. So make sure I don't miss any super chats. I think we're good. Make sure we don't have anything over here. Oh, we have a new Patreon, Sauceman. Thank you very much for the $5 Patreon. Much appreciated. You are the best. Miranda Kruger, for always look forward to your videos. God bless. Thank you very much for the Cash App. Much appreciated. You're the best. And I'm glad you enjoy. Then we'll come back over here to make sure nothing's on PayPal. All right, we're good. So again, thank you very much, Miranda. And thanks for the Patreon, Sauceman. Cool. Thanks for all the super chats. You are the best. Helps a ton nowadays. There you go. He said it. Support what you like or it goes away. Anthony Bear, what up? What up, bro? Miranda's dope. I can't disagree. So we're going to cover a little bit of this. Okay, so I jokingly called myself Ostradamus. One of my friends called me that. One of my friends who was an atheist, who thought I was crazy for thinking the earth was flat, et cetera, et cetera. The same guy that showed me the Zeitgeist, actually. He realized that I was making a whole bunch of predictions with great detail, and he'd fast forward 5-6 months later, and he's like, oh, whoa, you were right about that. Oh, you were right about that. So he made a joke, and he called me Ostradamus instead of Nostradamus, of course. Great stream, bro. We watched Zeitgeist as 20-year-olds. Took it as gospel, and now all my friends don't bother to read the scriptures. A shame. Yeah, I agree, dude. It's one of the most effective propaganda tools ever to just pull people away from the truth of Yeshua. It's really sad. And Anthony, of course, you are a legend. Always has my back. And thank you very much for the $15 super chat, my man. It's much appreciated. Helps a lot. And yeah, we just got to go out here and we got to just call out the propaganda best we can. Speak the truth, man. You know how it goes. All right, so let's check out some modern clown world event. So anyway, the whole thing I was telling you about Nostradamus, right? Because I made a bunch of predictions, and I honestly can say I have no urge to change any of my predictions. This includes that Trump is going to win, not only win, that the election is going to get flipped, he's going to moonwalk back in, and it's going to be one of the biggest wins in American history. I do not in any way change that. I have no reason to think I should change that. So a lot of people think that, they think I'm already wrong because the electoral votes were cast a day and all this stuff. But like, no, none of my stuff's changing. So anyway, he calls me Nostradamus because of that. And so I told a bunch of people, typically on 24/7, what I think is going to go on with this. A lot of people think, it's over. Supreme Court dismissed it, blah, blah, blah. This is all a charade. This is all script. None of this is real. I shouldn't have to continuously preface with that. If you're on my channel at any extended period of time at all, you would know that I know that all of this is just a script. The world's a script. Right? Like I even had lyrics that popped in my head yesterday, like, what's up with these Zionists? I wonder what they're trying. You think it's Biden, but this is just a play that they're writing, that they're designing, think that they're enlightened, worship something that came down enlightening. They worship Isis and Osiris, but you think that they're all asleep with closed eyelids. So yeah, like you wonder what they're trying. Like, what's up with these Zionists? I wonder what they're trying. You thinking it's Biden. I think they divide it. They take the people, then they divide it. Then they take a false revolution and unify it. Then they step in to guide it. And that's what they're doing. And my prediction has not changed. I'm not a prophet. I'm just some dude that's trying to grow out his beard and details cars. So take it or leave it. So anyway, some people seem to think they know for sure that what I said was wrong already. It's kind of exhausting. Just so you know, Trump can step in at any point in time with executive order, with executive power that was reinforced in 2018 based on the prospect of a fraudulent election. Trump just hasn't done that yet. That's all he's got to do. He can literally just force the courts to look at the actual merits of the case because of executive orders. So if no one knows, if no one's keeping up with Clown World, don't even blame you. It's very good to detach, certainly if you don't have the discernment or mental fortitude to be able to look at these things without letting them get to you or become obsessed with them or something like that, right? But simply, the Supreme Court threw it out throughout the case that Texas did with like 17 states or 18 states based on standing, meaning that you have no standing in court. Like, we're not even going to look at the thing because we're just going to throw it out, right? So the merits of the case hasn't been observed by any court yet, but they just did, they just did forensics diagnostics on these votes. All this stuff is coming out. It's all coming out. So just get your popcorn ready. Anyone that you can disagree with me, think I'm wrong, whatever. People always disagree with me when it's the easier route, just like they told me that XRP was bunk, and now everyone's hitting me up like, oh, dude, when should I get XRP, right? So take it or leave it, but you'll see how this pertains to my Nostradamus takes.
This point.
This happened yesterday. This interview from yesterday.
At this point, what would it take to get this broad assessment or analysis of machines to actually happen?
Well, given the level of foreign interference we can demonstrate, and the country has evidence of in our filings of foreign interference in the election, it's more than sufficient to trigger the president's executive order from 2018 that gives him all kinds of power to do everything from seize assets to freeze things, demand the impoundment of the machines. I think under the emergency powers, he could even appoint a special prosecutor to look into this, which is exactly what needs to happen. Every voting machine in the country should be impounded right now. There's frankly more than enough criminal probable cause to justify that for anybody who's willing to address the law and the facts purely on the basis of truth and not politics or corporate greed or global wealth.
And that's interesting that you mentioned that executive order, because I understand there's also a report that the DNI Radcliffe is supposed to be preparing to come out in not too long from now. It's 45 days, I believe,
from the time of the election about prospective issues.
Right. And what happened in the election. Well, if that report is an honest report, it's going to blow the mind of every citizen in the country.
And it's not going to blow my chat's mind.
Who's willing to look at the truth and the facts. Because we've never witnessed any.
No, actually, it's not going to blow the mind of any of the people that are willing to actually look at the facts. Because it's obviously just a script, so overtly obvious. And if you really look at the facts pertaining to everything, you know you don't live on a magic spinning cartoon ball that defies physics, brought to you by Jesuit priests. You know that these people are constantly in cahoots, working together all around the world. They have to be hiding the true nature of the earth. You then step out. You don't believe in the facade of the idea that red's fighting blue and put together is purple, which is the color of royalty. These people that have actually researched the facts, they know that all of this is nonsense. For you to tell us about how the election is rigged is laughably ironic because it's always been rigged. It's rigged in the very idea that they pick the two people who are even allowed to supposedly vote for. They occasionally put in someone that claims to be outside of the system like Reagan or someone that bucks the system like JFK just as a way to keep you compliant, to coax compliance where you think someone's actually fighting on your behalf. So very simply, she's talking to the diet woke people, but not the actually woke people, because you should be able to see this very obvious. This is overtly obvious. This is being all crafted. This is all script. They're gearing up for you to have some type of conflict with China. They're going to expose all these people in America that supposedly have sold out to China. They're going to expose depravity and pedophilia on a small scale so that people think that Q's real, that think Trump's really draining the swamp. They're going to start with the election. Trump's going to have to step in with his back against the wall for the entire American people, for over 80 million people that voted for him, and fight the system and the corruption. He'll have to use executive power to do so. This will come out, and then the entire system will be flipped on top of its head so that they can come in and reintroduce the new infrastructure. The election is the first domino to go.
Who's willing to look at the truth and the facts? Because we've never witnessed anything like this in the history of this country. And it's got to be stopped right now, or there will never be a free and fair election.
There never was.
So this is what you mean when you say you feel the republic is at stake.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the sales pitch, guys. And if you are a normie, you think that it has to be true in your worldview, because if you think elections are legit, well, they're straight up showing you, it's not legit, bro. We rigged all the computers, bro. You know, what we want is what we get. Now, they want Trump. This is the whole trick. They made it look like they were rigging it for Biden. That's what they want, so that you'll think Trump's actually bucking the system. So you let your guard down, and then you let him update the infrastructure. I would think that the very crazy totalitarian, authoritarian leader that introduces like some type of tyranny would actually be post-Donald Trump, because he's actually going to introduce the infrastructure for that person. That's just a working theory, though.
When you say you feel the republic is at stake.
It is, absolutely. Any election from here on out is an absolute farce and a joke and a manipulated charade if we don't fix this right now.
She was right until that preface of "if we don't fix it."
And come up with a system that we can all trust. There should be nothing but transparency in an election in the United States of America. And the very fact that they are refusing to let people look at the machines or address any of these issues tells us it's one big fraud.
Right. And somebody in the chat, I don't think they're all in on it. I think a lot of them are. Some are in there trying maybe. You're right. Actually, most of them aren't really in on it as in the big script. Most of them don't know. This is actually how you eliminate any type of, risk. You can't have like the dumb lower level people knowing. It's just like Masons don't even know what they're doing for the most part, right? Like Sidney Powell, she thinks she's literally fighting on behalf of a republic that actually exists, that Trump's actually the good guy draining the swamp, and that she thinks that she knows some things that you don't, right? Because she knows more about the DIA and how the military has got this little thing going on, this little operation going on, and it extends way bigger than people like this. Sidney Powell's just an actual lawyer who's actually finding evidence of corruption that they left just all over the place for everyone to find. They wanted you to find it. They have certain fall guys that are sunken in depravity, and they operate off of temporal materialistic motivations, and they just go around being super sloppy, just making sure that they can get their money, and then they've left them out to dry here when they've normally had this protection because the system wanted them to operate in some type of a shadow protection. Now they don't care to bring in the light. It's dark to light transition of the Luciferian doctrine. So again, most of these people don't know they're in on it. But to think that Donald Trump himself doesn't is beyond naive. He's Jesuit trained.
Well, no, exactly. And it's kind of fascinating because you would feel like anybody would want to be able to actually know the reality of the situation.
Exactly. As my friend Lynn Wood says, if people have nothing to hide, they hide nothing.
So, Sydney, any final thoughts before we finish up?
Just to say that we must fix this, we must.
That is actually like a real wise saying,
exactly.
You know?
As my friend Lynn Wood says, if people have nothing to hide, they hide nothing.
So, Sydney, any final thoughts before we finish up?
Just to say that we must fix this, we must fix it now. And
if my girl sounded like that, I would Usain Bolt.
That we must fix this, we must fix it now, and the American people must demand it. We cannot settle for anything like what we've witnessed in the last 4 years. The conduct of the Democrats, the global elites, the power brokers for the last 4 years in their effort to destroy President Trump. And this is not about President Trump. He's just a symbol of we the people. It's about the future of the republic. We have to fix this. We have to fix it right now. And there should never be another election conducted the way this one was. There should never be another American election without complete transparency.
Sydney Powell, such a pleasure to have you on again.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Jan. Ugh. So, yeah, there you go. I mean, it's just now starting. They have 4. I do this for you guys. I make these sacrifices for you guys. You know? So occasionally I freaking play stuff like that in the background while, say, I'm cleaning the kitchen or something, you know? So, you're welcome, but because I can't stand it, but I like to keep up with it every once in a while so I can try and help people see through the spell that's still caught up in it. But they have she has 4 cases pending in front of the Supreme Court. I haven't kept up with it. If anything's happened today, maybe, but anyway. Yeah, so, and they have like undeniable standing because they're actually representing the electoral representatives themselves, which have constitutional standing. The Supreme Court cannot hand wave dismiss it. And so once the merits of the case are presented, they're pretty undeniable. This was clearly fraudulent. And of course, every single election is fraudulent. And the only part that's legit is on the local level. Like you really go in there and you cast a vote and people really count on the local level. And depending on the corruption of said county or precinct, you might get the real numbers here and there. But it's as it goes up through the system, it's just all play. So sorry for being a broken record. Did you get my email? Maybe. I don't know. If I didn't reply, then maybe I haven't seen it. So I'll have to recheck, bro. I'll check in a sec. Thanks for all you do, man. Yeah, no problem. Oh, yeah, and then, of course, I guess Bill Barr stepped down. And, of course, Department of Justice hasn't stepped in at all. FBI hasn't stepped in at all. And the sitting president of the United States has claimed, like, the biggest accusation of election fraud in American history. And what could be more threatening to the ideal of the freedom and legitimacy of the republic than the very manipulation of the election itself by foreign actors and by domestic actors. And the FBI and the DOJ haven't even looked. This is like why they exist. Like if you were going to teach someone what the DOJ and the FBI was, you would use this as a perfect example of things that they exist to prevent and to investigate. And they haven't done so. This is all part of the system. It's all part of the script so they can update everything. I mean, everything. I'm talking about the FBI and the CIA and the NSA. They're going to bring the DIA out to where it's a more known branch. It's underneath the president. They're going to update literally everything. They're going to disband NASA. They're going to update it, integrate it into the into the Space Force. So there you go. Actually, the Air Force will probably be done away with. Technically enough, actually, the Air Force, like each branch has their own little Air Force anyway. So there you go. It's a video that I was talking about with the fire flying through the sky. Oh, dude, I'll check it out right now. I'm assuming Gmail. Wait, I mean, are you cool with me playing it? WitsitGetsIt. I have way too many emails in here, dude. I'll have to find it some other time. I'll find it and play it. If you're cool with me playing it, I'll play on like the next stream or something. Because I remember you saying that was super cool. But all right. Cool. I'm gonna wrap this up. It's been real cool. Yeah, dude, just unplug from the box. I got a lot of people telling me I want to make merch. Oh, you might have hit me Whitsitt Proton Mail. That's the best one too, for sure. Yeah, I'll just try to find it then. If it's in Proton, it should be easy. Everyone should use Proton Mail, by the way. But no one does. Like every time someone sends me a Gmail, like on Proton Mail, I don't see the video, dude. I see our emails, but I don't see a video. It's a share link. I just don't see it, man. We'll have to, yeah, we'll just do it some other time, bro. The conjunctions on December 21st, I think. Someone asked me what stream I'll do on there. I don't know. Probably something related to it, though. Unless I want to go actually see it in person somewhere. I don't know what I'm going to do. But maybe I can document that for you guys somehow. We'll see. We'll see. But when you understand the importance of the conjunction when it comes to the birth of Yeshua, then you'll understand this probably has some very, very profound spiritual importance. Grabblers know that. That's why they're going crazy this year. I don't know. Is the, dare I say, it's possible that the little grabblers that want to bring Nimrod back, do they invert it like always and use the conjunction of the sky to bring about their Messiah, their Christ, their Lord, their God? Very possible that it's an esoteric metaphysical inversion. I don't know. Purely speculation. So anyway, I'm thinking about maybe making merch. I haven't decided yet. If I do, I think the base would just be like just unplug. Just going to say unplug. I think the coolest merchandise is real simple. So just going to say unplug and maybe have my emblem somewhere. And then if I think maybe Vader Bear, if anybody thinks that they know an artist, something that would want to work with me, like on GP, you know, your boy's broke, like super broke, but and we come up with funny things, we could maybe make shirts about it. You know, I have some sayings typically too long, blah blah, like falsifications, independent replacement. That's, you can't put that on a shirt. Like, don't be a special boy. Well, really, that's kind of, you know, Owen Benjamin's joke, and I would never make merch like that. So we'll figure it out. I think I might just rock with the unplugs. If people want to support me, I might have a hat and a hoodie and a shirt that says unplug on it. Because I've had like a lot of people ask me. I'll go in tomorrow to figure out my PO box. I've had a lot of people ask me about if I have a PO box, they could send me stuff too. So I'll announce that tomorrow or whatever. And I'll check out the emails. Cool. Don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. Probably gonna either do the calendar stream. I know a lot of people are waiting on the calendar stream. I'm not trying to leave y'all hanging. I just don't want to do a disservice. I've been real busy. I don't think I've had enough time to thoroughly look into everything yet. But so maybe just go ahead and do the calendar stream tomorrow since I'm not working. I should have time to do it. And then we'll start the Clash of the Titans series. We got the Christmas stream coming on. A whole bunch of other things, you know. I have to start typing them down, but it'll be cool. We'll figure it out. Oh, Mike, I figured out it's Michael Lyon, maybe, right? Like Michael Lyon. But I'll work with you, brother. Let's chat soon. Thank you very much for the $20 super chat, man. My man's always crushing, helping me out. It's much appreciated. And yeah, dude, of course, I'm certainly down to work with everybody. Cool. I want a real simple design for the base merch or whatever, you know, and then yeah, like funny. If we can come up with funny shirts and stuff, then yeah, dude, it'd be cool to have a few people that are down to work together. And I'm like super not greedy, so I would cut people in on it if they help me out. Stop squirting. Exactly. Get a P.O. box. I already paid for it and set it up. I just got to go verify my identity or whatever. What's a grabbler? Grabbler is the word I use that extends beyond like Zionism. Thanks again, bro. You're a legend. I don't use it just for like the Jews or like I use it for the entire group of people that rub their and they just grab and subvert everything. That's what I call them. I use it as an encompassing term, not any specific group of people. So Zionists, Jesuits, Illuminati, Masons, whatever you want to call them, whatever they want to call themselves. They're all Luciferian little losers, secret kings. And I just call them the grabblers because they grabble everything. And I think it's a hysterical verb, like when you use it as a verb. So thanks again, everybody, for the support. It's always much appreciated. If anyone sends PayPal or Cash App, I'll read it tomorrow. Thanks to all the patrons. You can message me on there. Instagram, go follow me on Instagram, WitsitGetsIt. Haven't become real active on there. We're probably going to if I ever need to update anybody on what's going on with the stream. Right now I have Facebook. Don't know how long that will last. And then links to support in the description. XRP, Cash App, PayPal, Patreon. So anyway, yeah, thanks in advance. And unplug from the box, which is actually the cube, black cube that resembles Saturn, which we'll get into that in the Clash of the Titans, breaking down all the mythos and all that stuff. That's talk about some gravy. We're going to really break down where these stories came from, what they really mean, what they really represent, and how true they may be, and how they've been misrepresented. So that's a whole bunch to tackle. We're going to do it anyway. I'm not going to leave y'all hanging on the Christmas stream. Make sure I'll give you all a good Christmas stream before Christmas, Christ Mass. And then we'll have the calendar stream maybe tomorrow. And yeah, like I said, I have like 5 different things of subjects I'm looking into. But anyway, always seek and speak truth unequivocally. Never back down to societal ostracism. The weak-minded people always gather together with mob mentality. They throw rocks at the stronger, more independent people. So you have a decision to make yourself. Either you want to know the truth, you're going to seek the truth and speak the truth unequivocally, regardless of emotional predispositions or the pressure to fit in with somebody else, or you're not, and you're going to just basically cuck to society. Let me actually forgot about the lemons. I always give more than I get, I think. Whatever. All right. I am distributing the lemons. Thanks to all 52 people that are kicking it. I'll get better about reading y'all's chat. Thanks for all the lemons. Lemons will be distributed in 24 seconds. So yeah, anyway, unplug from the box, metaphorical, ideological box that keeps you from seeing the truth. That's all it is. And you can unplug. We can only show you that you're plugged in. That's the best that anyone else can do, that unplug. We can just be like, look, bro, you're plugged in. You're plugged in. Okay, but like we cannot forcibly remove you. It's up to you. That's the whole reason I started saying it, was to make that point very abundantly clear, right? Like I can tell you you're plugged in, but we cannot make you understand the importance of it. Let me set up the outro. I'm working on another song too, by the way, guys. So should be interesting. Should be interesting, bruh. Oh yeah, smash the Rogans up. Smash the Rogans up. All right, so yeah. Like I said, dude, I'll catch up with y'all tomorrow. Not sure exactly what the stream's gonna be about, but should be interesting. Got a couple tentative debates, don't want to announce them yet, not sure about them. Pretty polarizing subjects though. All right, so I will catch up with y'all mañana. Sorry, I'm trying to find the freaking thing. Yeah, I'll catch up with y'all tomorrow. Much love. And just like the little creepy woman said, but she's right. He who has nothing to hide hides nothing. So you can speak truth unequivocally. Truth is not fear investigation. I'll catch up with you tomorrow. Peace.
Geopolitically, we in a field just for Israel. Wonder is it real? Rappers act as anyhow. say they simple pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up, had to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real? Took the way you saw the world, then distorted it. Now you think you wanna rock and twirl somewhere orbited. Theories disproportionate, the truth distorted quick with a force will rip. They force them to simple that we absorb it quick. Took the people's signature, the meaning distorted it. They forging it, using goods informant to informing them. There's a surplus, but they tell us there are shortages. Credit economy mortgages, dollar that's supported with empty fortresses. But what support is this? We port ship supporting gifts, of course it is. But extortion is in accordance with an assortment list of foreign tricks. We ignoring which informant disinformant this. It looked like we were scoring tricks. Pedophilia and the government endorsing it. Yeah, eugenics is exactly what abortion is. You just vilify those as subordinate. Way to matrix engineer, that's unfortunate. Geopolitically, we in a field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real? Rappers acting say they high, say they simple pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up just to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder is it real?